So welcome to Consulting Business School, and this week we're going to be talking about client proposals, presentations, because that is what a lot of people have been asking for. So that's coming right up. Okay, so one of the really important parts of your consulting business is to be able to write really high-class winning proposals. Now, depending on your consulting journey, how new you are, the relationships you have with your clients, you could be very lucky, like I am with a lot of my clients, where it's non-competitive. So basically they'll say, Rob, can your team help me with X, Y, and Z? And we're really just putting a proposal together to clarify exactly what we're going to do, how long it's going to take, how long it's going to cost, etc. But we still have to compete for work as well. So particularly for larger projects, companies will very often go to tender and they'll ask a number of different consulting companies to put in a proposal. So regardless of whether you're new to consulting or you've been at it a long time, you have to write proposals. Now, those long-term relationships with long-standing clients, it can be fairly easy to write a proposal. For new clients where A, you don't really know their business, and B, you've really got to show your capability and expertise and set yourself apart from the others, that requires a lot more depth in the proposal, and it's that sort of proposal that we're going to be talking about today. And if you're wondering how long it takes to write a proposal, I know a lot of consultants, they try to boilerplate their proposals. So they try to have kind of standard formats, and they almost just change the client name and away they go. And I don't like that, because it's pretty obvious it's just a templated proposal. And particularly for the sort of work that we do in my consulting businesses, it's very much tailored, it's very much customized, and so we need a very detailed, specific proposal. It's not to say you can't draw on all of the ones that you've done before in terms of the framework, but there's a fair amount of work to go into it. People often ask me, how long does it take you to write a proposal, Rob? I don't know how many proposals I've written. I would think about 4,000 over the years. I'm not kidding, probably about 4,000 proposals. I don't write a lot of them now. A lot of the other guys in the business do them. But I proof all of the proposals that go out of the business. So how long does it take me to write a proposal? Okay, it's going to vary depending on the sort of business you're pitching for and the size of projects and all the rest of it. But as a rough guide, I work on about $100,000 a day proposal writing. Now, what does that mean? So if I'm writing a proposal that's valued at $100,000, it's going to take me about a day to write it, a full working day. So a $50,000 proposal, probably half a day. It's pretty hard to write a proposal in under half a day, regardless how small it is. So at least half a day, and then $1 million proposal is going to take me 10 days to write. It's 100,000 a day. It's just a rough ballpark figure. That's the amount of effort that you have to put into a proposal. There's a lot that goes into it, particularly if you're in a competitive environment. So let's run through some of the really essential parts of your proposal. First though, what's the aim of it? The aim of your proposal is to actually win you that client work. And from the perspective of the client, what are they looking for? They're looking for trust and confidence in your ability. They want value for money, and they need help in deciding why they should pick you over the other consulting businesses. So never forget that when you're putting that proposal together. Look at it through the client's eyes. Is it going to help them differentiate you from all of the other proposals that they're getting? And let's step through the key components then to help you do that. So first of all, I always like to start proposals with a background section. And that is basically our understanding of the business, the client business, what their particular needs are. It's demonstrating that, hey, we've listened. Usually at this point, we've had a discussion, at least a couple of discussions with the client. We may have visited their premises. So we're playing back to them that, hey, we understand your business and we understand what your issues are. So that's really important. You need to be able to get the client to understand that you understand their business. Now, the next section, executive summary. You might put that at the front, depending on your particular sort of framework, but the executive summary should be, ideally, on a page, your proposal. Here's the problem. This is the key issue. This is how we're going to fix it. This will be the outcome that we'll get for you. This is how long it'll take. This is how much it'll cost. So particularly for complex proposals, always think that someone more senior in the organization than you have already met might be the decision maker. So that proposal's got to stand up in its own right. You may be presenting it to your client, but they may not be the decision maker. So somebody else is going to read it cold. So that executive summary is really important. Read that one page, yep, these guys get it. They're going to, deliver this outcome, which is really great. This is the time frame and the cost. So the executive summary is really important. Now we get into the sort of meat of the proposal, and first of all, the objective and scope. So again, you will have discussed this with the client, what their particular issues are. What is the outcome that they want you to help them achieve? So you want a very clear objective, unambiguous. We're going to help you, fix this particular problem so that this happens. We're going to help you save, 10% on whatever. We're going to help you implement a certain system. So a very clear objective. This is what you're going to get for your money. Then the scope, and this is really important because people who are new to consulting will get scope creep. And what does that mean? It means if it's not clearly defined, there's a misunderstanding between you and the client, and you can end up being asked to do things which you haven't really quoted on. So the scope is really important for both parties. So the client knows exactly what they're getting, the scope of work quite literally, and you know what you're working on. I also very often put in out of scope. So for example, we're generally working in supply chain and logistics. It might be a proposal to design a warehouse, and the scope might be, we're going to come up with the materials handling solution, we're going to come up with the footprint for the warehouse, we're going to tell you how high the warehouse is going to be, we're going to tell you how many people will need to work in it. Out of scope might be the warehouse management system, the IT system that runs it. Depending on the client need, you have to be very specific about what's in and what's out. So, clear communication, really, really important. The next thing, and you'll hear, various sort of consulting jargon about this, people talk about the deliverables. It's a horrible word, I know. But basically, as the client, what are you going to deliver to me? Okay, so you could call it deliverables, outcomes, benefits. So I'm going to pay you a certain amount of money for this objective with this scope. What am I going to get at the end? So to go back to my warehouse design example, you will have a detailed design that you can take to the architects to have your building design, and a specification list to go to all the materials handling companies to show you exactly what to buy and how it's all to be laid out, and an estimated operating cost of the warehouse, for example. In your particular sphere, maybe you're consulting on IT, it will be, the deliverable will be, this system will be implemented, it will be up and running, and your staff will know how to operate it, and will have maintenance in place, whatever it is. So very clear deliverables. So you can see how we're setting it up now. Here's the objective, here's the scope, here's the deliverables. I know what I'm getting. It's really, really important. You can then actually start to go into the approach. This is how we're going to do the work. Now, for larger projects, this is quite important because the client wants to see that you've got an approach, a methodology, that you've done this before, that there's some logic about how you're going to do this work. It's no good me going to a client, for example, and say, hey, I'm going to charge you $30,000 to design this warehouse. And, they have no idea kind of what's being included and how we're going to go through the whole process. So we go through quite a bit of detail. There could be 8 or 9 pages of that saying, we're going to take your product information, we're going to analyze it this way, and we're going to, make sure that we can deal with fluctuations in product throughput and all that kind of stuff. For your particular business, for your consulting, you'll know what those are. So you need to go through step by step, this is how we're going to do it. Why do you go through all that detail, do you think? Couple of reasons. One, it's really good for you to be able to map out exactly how you're going to do it, so you've got a bit of a blueprint to follow. But more so for the client, they can actually see the level of detail that you're getting into. It's going to give them confidence that you know what you're doing. If all you're doing is saying, here's the price and kind of don't worry about it, we'll get it done, there's not a lot of meat there. There's not a lot of detail for them to have confidence in the fact you know what you're doing. So a little bit more is better than too little. So for example, I've just put a proposal together for looking at a distribution network for a client. It ran to about 100 PowerPoint pages. Now the key is the decision maker doesn't have to read it all, because we've got the background, we've got the executive summary, we've got a very clear contents page, they can flick through it. But those who want the detail, they can go through the detail, it's there. Okay, so that's the approach. You then want to outline the team. So who's going to be working with the client? So in the early days, it's probably just you, but if you're more established, you might have a team of people, depending on the complexity of the project. So you want to be showing a page, certainly, of the team structure, how you're going to interface with the client team, what you're going to do, what you expect the client team to do. And then I would put a CV, just a one-pager of each of your team members. And of course, those CVs have got to be really relevant. They've got to show that all those people have done what the client's asking for before, many times. So that's the team. Then you want to put in your fees. And look, we've got other videos on fee structures, but generally with consulting, it's either going to be a fixed fee. So most of our projects are like that. We do a very detailed project plan. We work out all of the resources and so on that have to go into the work, and we come up with a fixed fee. Some we basically call a time and materials basis. So if there's any travel costs and paying for time, that kind of thing, it's basically hourly rates or daily rates. Those are the two most common ways of paying for consulting services. Occasionally, we'll be asked to be rewarded on a fee for results. So that's the third way. So if the project is focused, for example, on saving money in a particular area, the client might say, okay, we'll give you X% of the savings if you deliver the savings. So that's probably three ways of putting your fees in: fixed fee, a variable sort of day rate, hourly rate, or fees on results. Okay, the fees. What next? Case studies. Now, this is really difficult if you're just starting out, but you need to demonstrate to the client that you've done this before and you've done it very effectively and that you've got happy clients. So you might have a sort of series of one pages. For client X, we've done exactly what you're asking for. This is how we went about it. This is the result. For client Y, we've done exactly what you've looked for. Now, that's a challenge, obviously, when you're starting out. You're going to have to build up those references and those case studies. But on another video, we talk about how you can do that. I think I called it fake it until you make it. You can kind of talk about things that you did in other roles before you got into consulting. So that's the case studies. And then finally, terms and conditions. Very important. So particularly with the sort of consulting that we do for large corporates, they want to know that we've got certain insurance policies. So we have to stipulate that we've got professional indemnity insurance, that we've got public liability insurance. We carry $10 million of cover of one, $20 million of cover of the other. Really important to have professional insurance as a consultant. You might be putting in your payment terms. You might want to put in things like, what if they offer one of your consultants a job? All of these sort of things go into the terms and conditions. So there we go. That is what goes into a consulting proposal or a presentation. The only difference, I would say, between a proposal that you're just going to hand in and a presentation is that the presentation is probably going to be a little bit less wordy because you're going to be talking to it and you don't want to just be reading it. So it's going to be a little bit more summarized. The written proposal is going to be a lot more wordy, and particularly for government departments and large organisations where their procurement department is managing the tender, because they may actually prescribe the format in which you have to submit your proposal. So, and they can be very, very lengthy. So let's just recap. What's the purpose of the proposal and why is it so important? It's through that you're going to build trust and confidence within the client that you can do the job. It's there that you're going to demonstrate the value that you can deliver for the fees that you've proposed, and you're going to help the client decide why you as opposed to the others. And the key steps, if you looked at the contents page of that proposal, you're going to have a background, an executive summary, you're going to have objective and scope, you're going to have the deliverables or outcomes, you're going to show the approach, you're going to show the team and their CVs, you're going to show the fee structure broken down, you're going to show case studies, and you're going to show time and material, T's and C's, terms and conditions. So there you go. Writing good proposals is an essential part of being a consultant. So it's not the most fun part. I have to say I quite like writing some of them because it actually allows you to sort of show a bit of creativity and flair in terms of how you're going to do the work. But good proposal writing is an absolutely essential part of being a consultant. And one of the KPIs that you really need to track in a consulting business is the success rate of your proposals. So, of 100 proposals that you submit, how many did you win? So I think ours are currently running at about 60%. So, of course, there's a secret to that. You don't bid on the ones that you're very confident that you will not win for whatever reason. Maybe you don't have the skills, maybe you haven't worked in that particular industry, maybe you haven't worked in that country before. So be very careful about the clients that you pick. There's another video on that. But when you're putting forward your proposal, you ought to be aiming for at least a 50% success rate. If you're down around 30%, 40%, have a very good look at what you're doing with your proposals because you're missing the mark. Are you demonstrating value? Are you differentiating your approach above others? Are you instilling trust and confidence in the client through what you've put in your proposal? Aim for at least 50% success rate on your proposals. So there you go, proposal writing, one of the joys of being a consultant, but a very, very important part. If you've got any questions on that, do put your questions in down below. I'd love to hear those and provide some feedback. If you're new to the channel, why not think about subscribing? There's that bell down there as well. If you hit the bell, you'll be notified every time we have a new video coming out, and they generally come out on a Tuesday evening. So thanks for watching. Anything else you'd like to know about consulting, let me know in the comments below. See you soon.